I'm Lori Esposito Murray, President of the Committee for Economic Development, the Public Policy Center of the Conference Board. Welcome to CED's Leadership in Challenging Times series, where we feature the outstanding business leaders who are the recipients of CED's Distinguished Leadership Awards for corporate citizenship and business stewardship. And today, I have the privilege of speaking with our 2022 honoree, Albert Bourla, Chairman and CEO of Pfizer, Inc., a very well-known American multinational pharmaceutical and biotechnology corporation founded in 1849. Dr. Bourla leads Pfizer in its purpose, breakthroughs that change patients' lives and have a transformational impact on human health. And Dr. Bourla and the Pfizer team are certainly fulfilling that purpose. Throughout the pandemic, Pfizer has made an extraordinary contribution to defeating COVID-19 with the development of an mRNA vaccine, as we all know, as well as therapeutics. And most recently, Pfizer made a public commitment to provide all of its current and future patent-protected medicines on a not-for-profit basis to 1.2 billion people in 45 lower-income countries. So welcome, Dr. Bourla. We certainly have a lot to talk about.
Thank you very much, Lori. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Well, let's get started. Just 6 days after WHO declared COVID-19 a pandemic, Pfizer set a goal of making the impossible possible. So take us back there. You had become CEO in 2019. You're in charge of a monolith big pharma company as a once in 100-year public health crisis hits. So how did you pivot as a leader? And how did you get this very large biopharmaceutical company to pivot along with you to respond to this crisis and reach the impossible?
Yeah, thank you. First, we need to remember what the days that we were living were looking like. It was a lot of fear, a lot of darkness, and we were all thinking that the civilization, the way we know it, is challenged for the first time in our lifetime. And that makes people think very differently. Not only those that they may come with the ideas, let's do it, but also those that they are asked to follow and make it happen. They can rise to the occasion in ways that usually you don't when you are living in normal times. So that's as a context. Now, I took over in 2019, but when I took over, I found from my predecessor a very strong company, a company that had transformed the research machine from what used to be mediocre to one that I felt it was one of the best in the industry. And this gave me the opportunity to enact immediately upon my appointment a series of transformation changes to Pfizer. We took out multiple businesses that they were not science focused. Almost 25% of our revenues we took out within months, found better homes when I say out, divested. And we focus only on the science-based part of the company. We increased dramatically the budgets of R&D, and we increased also substantially the budgets of digital. And we started preparing the digitization of the research process. So when COVID hit, somehow we were ready. And we were ready not only with better capital allocation towards R&D or a better portfolio of businesses that was more science focused, but also with a culture. And the culture that we had developed as the right culture for us as we were transforming the company into a research engine was a culture that was calling for courage. Clearly, that is what we had to demonstrate to be able to invest that large in something like that with COVID. It was that was calling for excellence in execution. And clearly, our ability to run 2 studies of thousands of people, one for vaccine and one for the treatment, in record time and with high level of accuracy. It was calling for equity, and clearly the way that we managed the pandemic how we price the products, how we allocate product, and it called for joy, and joy in the sense of how people taking pride for the job that they do. And without that, I don't think we would be able to accomplish what we did. So to answer your question, the organization was ready.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment, especially for a company as old and as large. And you mentioned courage. Making the decision to pursue the mRNA technology was really bold and risky, and you were actually an original skeptic. So share with us how you made that decision, especially given the stakes.
Basically, it was trusting my people. When they told me mRNA is our solution to what you are asking us to do, which is we want a vaccine, very effective, very safe, very quickly. I was puzzled. That was a very counterintuitive decision. You know, Moderna is very good in doing mRNA. So for them, the decision would be only, are we doing a vaccine for COVID or not? It would never be what technology to use, because this is what they are very good. In our case, we were very good in multiple different technological platforms that could give a vaccine. So that was the number one decision that we had to make. And there was no other medicine or vaccine that was successful by the time that we made the decision, let's try this technology to bring a COVID vaccine. So that was quite counterintuitive, as I said. So I challenged it. Are you sure? And then they came and we had very, very, let's say, deep discussions over a couple of days, not over a couple of months, where we really understood where we are with the technology, what are the limitations and unknowns, but also what are the benefits. And the fundamental was that if we were to be successful with this technology, it became clear to me that that would be a superior answer. Higher risk, but higher reward. And they convinced me that they felt that the technology is mature enough, we have it, we will crack the nut with that. And I said, go ahead.
So take us forward. There's a lot of discussion about how the mRNA platforms may actually have an impact on the future and our approach to health, better health solutions. Can you give us some insights into where we may be going with this?
Of course. The technology, I think, is just starting to scratch the surface of what can deliver. But I want from the get-go to say, it's not going to be a panacea. It's not a technology that will resolve everything or medical needs that we have right now. But it is a technology that will allow us to bring solutions to things that to some of the things that we were not able to bring before. Not all, but to some. This is a technology that could give us, for example, better vaccines beyond COVID. We have a lot of vaccines. I think we can get way better vaccines for some of the diseases that is very difficult to get good vaccines against. The second is that the technology first was pioneered to treat cancer, not to make vaccines. It is a lot of work against cancer is happening right now. We don't have anything successful so far, but the chances that we will see success through that are quite high, I would say. And we will know in the next couple of years. The third area that this technology can be used, it is for genetic diseases. Diseases that are due to a mistake in the human genome, in our code. Instead of the letters being in the right order, one or two of them in our DNA have flipped the order, and that can create diseases to those unfortunate that have that mistake that usually are extremely difficult to treat. And some of them are fatal also. This technology, for the first time, will allow us to edit the mistake in the genome of those unfortunate people and hopefully make them more successful. So, and I can go on and on because those could have application in multiple diseases, in heart diseases, in brain diseases, etc. But again, as I said, despite that there are so much more to see with this technology, I don't think people to think that every single disease can be treated by using this mRNA. No.
So how important do you believe the collaboration between public and the private sector to achieve this accomplishment and the COVID vaccine and therapeutics accomplishments? What would you highlight as what went right during that whole rapid period of Operation Warp Speed? And with regards to collaboration, what most needs to be improved as we look to what has been predicted to be public health crises that are going to come much more rapidly in the future?
Nothing of what was accomplished would have been accomplished without partnerships. In our case, we had to partner with BioNTech, but we had also to partner with FDA, and we had to partner with CDC, so that particularly FDA, because they are regulating everything that we're doing. So without their active collaboration, without their active changing of the way that they work as well, we wouldn't be able to achieve what we achieved. And of course, there was a lot of academia involved in the work that we did, because we consulted with a ton of academic institutions as we were moving. I would say the same is for Moderna and others. Moderna, they had to partner with NIH, and in their case also they needed likely the funds. At the time they were quite a small company, so the money that came to them from Operation Warp Speed, I think, were very pivotal for their ability to be successful. In our case, I remind you, we didn't take the money because, one, we didn't need it, we had our own, and secondly, we thought that we would be more flexible if we didn't have economic strings attached to the administration, but we just move ahead with the speed of science. So a lot of these things were important, and without that, we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we accomplished. Now, I think if you look back at what worked extremely well, I think the fundamental message that stands out, it is that we were lucky because at the time of the most important, the most severe health crisis of the century, we were having a thriving life sciences sector, particularly in the US. That's why everything came from the US. And that was thriving life sciences sector was an ecosystem of private, mainly, institutions, private academia, private big pharma, private biotech, that in collaboration all together, they were able to bring solutions for diagnostics, and then for treatments, and then for vaccines, even for respirators, when you had the companies that were making cars being able to mobilize their resources within a month or so to be able to make respirators. So that, I think, stood out as something that is what worked well. So if I think for the future, I think it's for the benefit of humanity to make sure that we create an environment that this life sciences sector will flourish even more in the future. So we'll be able not only to address future dangers like pandemics, but also, now that we know that it can, things can be worked differently, to be able to bring medicines for cancer, for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson, you name it, way faster. So that, I think, what worked well.
So turning to, part of the global concerns are global equity, and I know that's an important part of your efforts. And I had mentioned your major announcement in Davos about Pfizer's current and future patent protected medicines being available on a not-for-profit basis. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? That was really quite a moment in Davos when you announced that.
Yes, the first week that I took over and we went together with my leadership team, we established goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was that by year 2023, we should reduce by 50% the number of people in the world that cannot afford our medicines. That was a very big statement. And we did a lot about that in the meantime. But clearly, what really is moving the needle is our latest announcement, which we say that we are going to give at cost all not some, all our patent-protected medicines to 1.2 billion people that are living in the 45 poorest countries of the world. That we put also an additional spin to that. We saw from the pandemic that vaccines became available pretty soon to the entire world at no cost. So at the poorest countries of the world, they had, and still they have, hundreds of millions of doses of vaccines available to them completely free. They arrive at their warehouse in the country free. And they are not using them. They are not using them because they have either problem of infrastructure, in some cases, even a simple tent with someone that can inject people, it's something that they are lacking. And in some cases, because of hesitancy, that in the poorest parts of the world, unfortunately, the number of non-well-educated people is way higher, and as a result, they are not getting it. So we felt that would be the same with these medicines. One thing is to give you the best medicine for breast cancer, for example. The most prescribed in the West world medicine for breast cancer is a medicine that Pfizer has. And we give it now at cost. But another thing it is that the country will have the ability to diagnose breast cancer because the woman will not have the obstacle of not wanting to go to be examined by a doctor, and the doctor will have a simple X-ray machine to see if there is a tumor. All of that, simple things in the West world, not necessarily given over there. So we selected 5 of the 45 countries to work very close to try to remove all the obstacles from giving the medicines all the way to the patient. And we started already with those 5. And I'm pleased, I think I tweeted today that the first medicines under this accord that we made a couple of months ago already arrived in the country of Rwanda. And already we held the first training session of their physicians how to use the medicine through video conference from our own physicians. So I'm very, very proud of what we are doing there.
Oh, and it really will be transformational. So we wish you all the best success with that effort, the full spectrum of it. And my final question is to you is, how did COVID change the company and your leadership?
Oh, I think the company is changed dramatically. 2022 was so successful year with all the measures you can put. We had the highest reputation ever. We had the higher employee engagement ever. We had the higher stock price ever. We had the higher top and bottom line. The magnitude is dramatic. All of that are calling us to set the bar even higher now. So clearly the ambitions that we had to make breakthroughs that change patients' lives were set when we didn't know that we will come so soon with something that will change so much the lives of so many. We are now thinking even more ambitiously into bringing medical solutions that will not only change patients' lives, will change the way that the industry is working. And if not us, then will.
Well, Dr. Bourla, it is truly a privilege for us to be honoring you this year in October, and the Pfizer team. Thank you for all you've contributed and clearly all that you still have yet to contribute. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you to the Pfizer team.
Thank you for your very kind words. And you said right. I mean, I may be the face of the company, that I'm taking a disproportionate amount of the credit, but it was the work of thousands, literally thousands of Pfizer colleagues and our partners that make the difference.
Well, thank you so much.